Hi everybody, Jack and Brooke here again for another community office hours. We're super excited to be back with you all. This is our first week back since we just had our fall company retreat, so Brooke and I actually got to hang out in person. Uh, First time in a long time, right?
Right.
Here, since the last retreat, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, so yeah, we're excited to be back and answering your questions. Before we get started, I just want to shout out our community survey, which we posted last week. We're just looking to gather some of your feedback on the type of content we're creating for you in the community. So it is open till February 16th. We'll make sure to post some links under the video so you can fill it in. And as a thank you, we're going to do a draw on February 16th, and we're going to pick 3 lucky winners to give some Amazon gift cards to. So a little bit of an incentive there for you to fill in the form, but also great opportunity to share your thoughts on the content we're creating and what types of things you'd like to see us make moving forward. Okay, let's get into our questions, Brooke. The
Hey.
first one I saw in the community over the last little while was assigned treatments versus shared treatments. So, what's the difference? And maybe we'll have a look as well
hmm
on what they look like on the booking side of things.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just first here share my screen. So the difference on those shared street treatments is the main thing is how they are, where they're shown on your online booking site. So if you are a multi-provider practice or even a solo provider, if you have them as shared, they will show on this page here. So under this book by treatment. So a shared, even if you're a solo practice and you want them displayed here, you would set your treatments to shared so they can see them before they select into you. If they are not set to shared, the treatments would not be viewable until you actually go into the specific provider, and then they would be listed here. So that's the difference on setting those up and where they show on your online booking site. One thing I will show though is if you do have a shared treatment that isn't in fact shared, that you do want in listed under this book by treatment. So if you have, something like our physical therapy practitioners here, where if one of them doesn't offer one of these shared treatment, you still can opt somebody out of these. So this is in the individual who doesn't offer this in their staff profile. If we go to treatments, classes, and group appointments, if it's a shared treatment, I could select not to offer anything.
Awesome, amazing. And maybe we'll have a quick look at just where, when you're setting
Mm,
up a treatment,
yeah.
what you're going to
So
toggle or not toggle off.
yeah. Yeah. So when you're setting that up in settings here under treatments, I'll just go ahead and edit one here. It is here under staff member. So whether it's going to be shared or set to a specific person here. So for example, if I select, what are we on here? Acupuncture for our initial assessment. If I set this specifically to Jonathan, it's not going to be now visible on the main booking page under acupuncture. We'll see here that initial visit is gone, but if we go into Jonathan, it's listed here.
That kind of segues into another one of the questions that came up over the last week. Another new provider was wondering how they let their clients know the price per unit for like Botox or fillers. There's a few places. I think maybe the booking description is a good place to show that off.
Yeah, definitely. So when you're setting up your treatments, so yes, we do know for our estheticians that they are booking based on kind of like number of units. And if you want to pass that pricing to your clients, in the setting of those services, I'm just going to head down to, let's say, our Botox. I can put in here a description before booking, which is going to show on the online booking site. So I could put in here, oops. You can add more, of course, description to that, but you can put in there your price per unit. They'll see this on the online booking site. And if you wanted that to be included on notifications, maybe when they do book the appointment, they're going to receive that thanks for booking. If you want any information included in the reminders, you can also put it in this booking information after booking.
Okay, our next question is this new practitioner has just completed their second session with somebody, and the client has let them know that their social work registration number isn't showing up on their invoice. So I'd love for you to give us a little walkthrough on where you put in like your credentials, your social worker registration, or any other numbers you might need on
Mhm.
your invoice.
Yeah, so any registration number, licensing number that is added to your staff profile. So if you head to your staff tab, head to that staff profile, and here in billing is where that number will be. So depending on where you are, this might look and what subscription you are, this might look a bit different, but every Jane account will have the ID numbers for you to add in any licensing numbers. One thing to note though is if if you've already arrived a previous visit, when you add these numbers, it won't be added to any arrived visit from the past. So this would only be added to future visits. So depending on how many you might need to provide a new receipt for with that information, it might be easier to just manually add your number to already generated invoices. So for example, like this appointment here has already been paid. I can unarrive it if I unapply the payment and unarrive the visit and then rearrive it, and those registration numbers would be on there. However, if I don't want to go through those steps of, unapplying the payment, unarriving it, if I have quite a few that I've done, I could manually add in my licensing number myself. So if I go ahead and select that appointment, if I click on the invoice here, I could add my licensing number. This one already had it on there, but I could add it here myself and
Perfect.
then hit save and re-email that to someone. But if you haven't taken payment, so for example, these ones here have been arrived but not paid, to have my registration number on there, I can just unarrive it and then re-arrive it, and that will have my numbers on there now.
Awesome. Perfect. I have another small question. This is from Nick, and he's wondering if you can edit your intake forms after you've created and sent them out. So the first part of that is that yes, you can edit, and
Mhm.
Brooke, I'll get you to show where you can edit it once you created it. But second is that once these intake forms have been sent out, filled out, you can't edit them right from the patient side of things, right? Once they've been signed off on.
Yeah, exactly. So to edit them, you'll see that is done in settings here in forms and surveys. So at any time I can come in here and then we'll head to intake forms. And depending on what you want to edit, you can change anything on here, whether it's the profile demographics that you are collecting, if you wanted to if you just recently signed up with Jane Payments and you now want to collect it through the intake form, you can change that. You can change any of the health questionnaire on here, your consents, and then for patients, any previous patient, you're not changing what you've already sent them or what they've already
Awesome.
completed.
Perfect. Um, I have another question that got posted in the last day, and it was about Jane not automatically applying packages when a client makes their appointment. And this is just something that you need to check when you're setting up your package. So maybe we'll show exactly where.
Yeah, so in the setting of the package, so we'll just head down here to our packages and memberships. And yes, it is a setting within here. If we go ahead and view one of these, you'll want to make sure that you have this option here, automatically redeem online. So what this means is when somebody books an appointment online, their package on your end will automatically already be added to that visit once you see them.
Awesome. Perfect. So I have one last question before we wrap up for today, and this is from Jessica. And her question is when she's charting, she doesn't have the lock icon appear on her appointment to show that she's started a draft or even finished one. She's hoping to figure out why and how she can fix it. Because obviously it's always nice to see which appointments you've already charted on. So Alex pointed out that you're going to be able to see that only from the day view. Um, but there's another reason why, Brooke, and maybe you can show us how to get the appointment and the chart attached to each other in your day
Mhm.
view if it's not there.
Yeah, so when you're not seeing the lock icon, whether it's locked or in draft form, this means you may have started a note by going directly to the patient's tab and then selecting that patient and then going to their chart and then adding a new chart entry or duplicating a previous one. When we add a note like this, it's not associated with an appointment, so it's kind of just like a generic note that's been added. Um, this is why we do recommend working from this practitioner day sheet, where when you do select the appointment from here, uh, and you add a note or duplicate one, it automatically is associating it or linking it with this appointment that you selected. So we'll have the check mark here. That's the appointment I'm working with. And when I add the note, it's going to associate with this one. If you have done a note and you did start it from the patient file without selecting their appointment from the day sheet, you can still go back and relink those appointments. So I'm just actually maybe going to go to another person here. So if you have a note added, I'm just going to try to find one without an appointment. Perfect. This one here, if you're having a look through the patient's chart history, I can see here which ones actually are associated with the appointment or not if they have this calendar icon. And if I hover my mouse, I can see exactly which date that's for. This one here doesn't have that icon. And if you need to link it to an appointment, if you select the arrow here, if you're the author of the chart, you are going to be able to add the appointment it was for.
Actually, I said this was going to be the last question, but something just popped up, and I remember seeing it in the community over the last week too. Is sharing your charts with other practitioners, right? You are able to obviously keep those charts just for your eyes only, or if you have like collaborative care within your practice, you can share with the other providers. So maybe before, just as an extra bonus today, we can show how you can share those charts with other providers you work with.
Yeah, well, there's a few settings. Each individual staff member can set their chart privacy, their default chart privacy. So this means anytime I add a note, this is the privacy setting for it. So if we have a look here at who I'm logged in as, in their profile, if we hit the edit settings and then settings, I can set my default chart privacy. So if I did want this to my eyes only, I can have that set to my eyes only. And also, if I always want maybe another provider to view it, I can add anybody else. So if I wanted to add another staff member to view charts I add, I can go ahead and add them here. And we'll see any names listed below. If I do have things set for my default, when I add an individual chart entry, let's just go ahead and add one here. At the bottom of the entry, I also have the option to set just this one to somebody to view, or actually another staff member within my discipline. So if I select this, it's only viewable by me. I can set it to either everyone at the practice or everyone within my discipline.
Awesome. All right, that is all of the questions we have time for this week. Thank you for spending some time with us. Of course, pop any questions you'd like us to cover in our next video down below in the comments, or otherwise we'll be keeping an eye out in the community, and we'll see you back here next week. Take care.